NBA Media Day took place today, and obviously the Toronto Raptors were there, and I don't know about the rest of you, but there's at least some things about this organization that are starting to make me feel a little uneasy, and that's what we're going to talk about today. What's up, everybody? It's JJ Buckets. Before I fully get into things, obviously usual drill, just make sure you're hitting like on the video. It helps the algorithm out a ton, and I do really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, plus if you plan on doing any responsible sports betting in the near future, just make sure to check out my link in the description below. For Toronto, today could have been the start of a new era, you know, kind of ridding yourselves of the bad vibes, so to speak, that you had last season, and just starting anew with a new head coach, all this stuff. Instead, they decided to focus on a lot of the problems from last season in today's media day, and the vibes weren't great. But more than any of that, I think there's one thing that is truly troubling me so much, and it feels like just the uncertainty that is around this team's future. And what I'm talking about in particular is obviously this offseason that's coming up for the Raptors is shit, man. It is crucial. I don't think you can really undersell that. And it's crucial because obviously you got Pascal Siakam on the last year of his deal. You got OG Anunoby with a player option that's in all likelihood going to be declined as he looks for more money. And you got Gary Trent Jr., who's on the last year of his deal, right? Three key pieces, and with those three key pieces, it really doesn't look like anything is moving in the Raptors' direction when it comes to any of them. Like, none of the three, right? So, with Pascal Siakam, I think the alarming thing is we haven't heard anything about extension talks progressing, right? Not in the slightest. And that's your best player. In theory, that's your star player. And we haven't heard a thing. We haven't heard a thing about any sort of Pascal Siakam extension being in the works, anything of the sort. It seems like the Raptors are comfortable riding this out and just seeing where it takes them, which I'll expand on a little bit as to why it's troublesome when I'm touching upon all three. But yeah, with OG Anunoby, we actually had a Mark Stein article that talked about the fact that OG is in all likelihood going to decline his player option, as he should, and look for his big payday this offseason. And Toronto's once again sitting there with another key player to their team with no assurance of the fact that he's going to be here for the future. And with Gary Trent Jr., a guy that opted into his player option for what felt like him and Toronto working towards a long-term deal, we're sitting here, it's October, no reports. You could see just the uneasiness of this whole situation, right? Like, it's just, I remember making a video at the trade deadline last year questioning, what are the Raptors doing? Just because you had all these rumors about, you know, guys potentially getting traded here and there, and obviously the team wasn't performing great, so it was an idea of recouping assets, all this stuff, and then nothing happened, like outside of, you know, Toronto acquiring Jakob Poeltl, which was a weird move at the time. Obviously they retained him, but you got Jakob Poeltl onto the team, you didn't trade any of your guys, and then you proceeded to obviously miss the play-in, and one of the core members of that team and in the offseason, Fred VanVleet, ended up walking away for nothing. Are you sitting here with potentially that same threat looming over your head with at least like one of these three guys? Because that's kind of what it feels like, right? Because, hey, look, if things aren't working and if you want to ride it out and see if you need a reset, that's cool. I have no problem with that. But with the way that things are kind of being managed as it currently stands, it doesn't really seem like there's a plan in place to recoup value for the assets that you're potentially going to lose. And yeah, you're threatening another situation like VanVleet, where you just let the guy walk for nothing. Because that's exactly what happened with Fred. He saw an opportunity for a payday with Houston, and he left. And now you have Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., all need contracts. And while I'm sure maybe they end up retaining like 2 out of those 3 pieces or something, maybe there's a shot at that, I do think it is so concerning that you're sitting here, your star player has no progress on an extension. Your All-NBA defensive player, one of your key glue guys, arguably your key glue guy, OG Anunoby, who's also potentially going to be thrust into a bigger role this year, be a bigger part of your team. Haven't heard anything about getting done there. And obviously Gary Trent Jr. I don't think has the same gravity to, you know, his importance respectfully with the team as the other two, but even still, Gary Trent Jr., another guy that figures to be a key piece on your team, nothing. Like, it's not just me, right? I'm not crazy for thinking the fact that, like, it's a little unsettling that we don't have any movement on any of those fronts. Because again, like, if you get to this offseason, teams have cap space and you're losing your guys for nothing, you're really setting yourself back as an organization. And obviously the Raptors just had their whole situation with Damian Lillard where apparently they were right in it. Shams obviously had that big tweet that you know, sent Raptors fans into a frenzy before having to delete it. And the big thing with that one apparently was, according to the Toronto Sun, OG Anunoby was not offered for Damian Lillard, so you didn't end up making that trade. And cool. Now you're sitting here and, let's say in this example, OG Anunoby, who was so integral that you weren't willing to part with him, we still have no news in the front. We still have no progress in the situation. We're just willing to let it play out. And look, do I have some confidence that this will be resolved in the offseason when it comes to these guys and getting their money, getting re-signed? Like, sure, to some extent. But I don't know, this kind of really goes back into that feeling that I think has been looming these past, at least I'd say like this past season, but potentially, at least this past season, that this team just feels directionless right now, and it doesn't really feel like the front office knows what they want to do, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, comment section is right there. But yeah, it doesn't feel like they have a good idea of what they're going to do, and I don't think it's hard to sit there as a fan and see that and get nervous about that, right? Because shit, man, I have more questions than I have answers right now, and that is never a good feeling. So there's just unease about this whole situation right now, and I think I just wanted to make the video to talk about that and gauge kind of where everybody else was at, I suppose. Obviously, comment section is right there, so let me know, how are you feeling about how this team is progressing, or I guess lacking in their progression to some extent, when it comes to the front office and the moves or lack thereof, all this stuff. I really do want to hear your thoughts on the situation, because I don't know, man, I don't know. There's unease about the whole thing right now, and it'd be nice to hear some other thoughts about it. Yeah, other than that, folks, that's pretty much been the video, so I'm gonna hit you with the usual drill. If you're still watching this, hit that like button, it takes a second, and it really helps the video perform, so genuinely, thank you. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Other than that, it's been JJ Buckets. It's been a pleasure, and I will see everybody next time.